Hello to all of my Slaysian sensations out there, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be answering the question, how would I judge Drag Race Philippines Slaysian Royale? I do know this video is coming out a little bit late, but I did really love this season, wanted to make a video on it, and I really think there's a lot to talk about, so let us get ourselves into it. Before we go any further, the rules to remember, as always, are the season has to be as long as season 1 originally was, which was 10 episodes, which was 9 competitive episodes in the finale, and the performances and the challenges need to be based off of how well someone did or how people would predict they would do. So I'm not just going to put somebody in the bottom when they were originally in the top, or vice versa, unless there is strong fan support for that being the case. The goal, as always, is to act as if I'm the head judge and craft this season however I can imagine and make it as fun and eventful as possible, while also being fair with my judging of the season by combining my own personal tastes and what was shown to us on the show. Before we get into the meat of the video, please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy yourself. I love making these videos for y'all, and yeah, I don't know, that's it. Alright, in episode 1 we have ourselves the Miss Shuta pageant, so to say, where they have to present some looks and answer a question. I judged this challenge pretty similarly to how it was done originally. Pretty similarly is kind of a stretch. Kind of similarly, I guess, is the best way to go about it. Originally, this challenge had a bunch of tops and only 2 bottoms, and I did keep it the same. I decided to do 4 tops and 2 bottoms because I don't think there's really a need for a low placement in this challenge. But originally, there were 5 tops, which it didn't make sense to me personally. So I just, I didn't do that. I led as 4 tops instead. Originally, Kiana and Siam were the top 2 of the week, with Arizona Brandy and Brigading and Kitty Space being high. I decided to switch it up a little bit. Since I only have 4 tops, I had to eliminate somebody, which was, for me, Kitty Space. And originally, again, Siam was in the top 2, but I decided to switch Siam back to high, and then Arizona up to the top 2. I thought Arizona's question and answer was super fucking good. And looking at the looks, looking at the looks for this challenge, a lot of the top, people who could potentially be in the top, all kind of fell onto similar levels for me, where I wasn't entirely sure of the best way to grade them, where I'm like, they're all on a very even playing field for me. And so I kind of took the question and answer a bit into question more than I usually would, and so it kind of mattered more to me the way that I ended up judging this challenge. And I decided that Kiana and Arizona were my favorites of the week. The bottom 2 contestants are going to stay the same, being Something Wong and Madam Yoko, and all the other contestants that were safe originally are still going to be safe. The top 2 of Kiana and Arizona are going to lip sync to Debut by Cat's Eye, which I'm so happy we got a Cat's Eye lip sync on Drag Race. I would love to see more. I would love to. Give me Gnarly, give me Touch. Give me MIA. Give me all 3 of those. I'd be so fucking happy. But yeah, between these 2, Cat's Eye, I feel like is definitely more in Kiana's wheelhouse. And we saw she did it originally in this challenge, and she did a really good job. So I'm going to say that Kiana is going to win the lip sync. And out of the bottom 2, I believe she would still eliminate Madam Yoko. That's what she did originally. I don't see a reason that she would change that. So it is going to stay the same. So sadly, Madam Yoko is going to leave first, and we're going to move on to episode 2. In episode 2, we have the Girl Groups Challenge, where they separate into 2 girl groups and have to perform to the song Asian A. Since everybody here is the same as you were originally, the groups are going to stay the same, which is all of the Filipina queens in a group and all of the international queens in a group. Now, Now, I definitely decided to switch up the judging with the tops in this challenge. Originally, Venus Deluxe and Arizona Brandy were the top two, and Brigading was high. But I disagree with that. I feel like Kiana was incredibly underrated in this challenge. I was honestly shocked when I looked back at the actual track records and saw that she was safe, because I like when I looked at when it actually happened. I watched the episode. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And then I went to recently over this past like week was going back and doing my placements and stuff, and figuring out how I would judge it. And I was thinking about the episode that I'd seen, like over a month ago, and was like, oh yeah, Kiana was in the top, but she didn't win this challenge. And then I looked back and I was like, oh no, she was safe. What the fuck? And then I watched the performance again, and I was like, no, 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 no. She very much deserves to be at least in the top three. I would say top two. I think Kiana killed this. And the Kitty Space, I think, did a really fucking good job. I think was very underappreciated in this challenge as well. I think did a pretty damn good job this week. So she's going to get a high placement from me, making up for her lack of one last week. Which does mean that Arizona Brandy is just going to be safe. I did not gag over Arizona's performance. I mean, it's not like Arizona did bad. she did. It's not like she did bad. She did perfectly good. Arizona was probably my fourth or fifth of the week, but this top three was pretty clear to me. And Venus Deluxe is going to stay in the top three. It just makes the most sense to me here. I did decide to keep the bottoms the same, though. Yuhua originally was low, I kept that the same, and Ivory and Something Wong are the bottom two. I do completely agree with those judgings. There wasn't enough movement and enough, flow for any of these three, and I think Something kind of steamrolled the team in a bad way. And also was off on some points, which is weird to me. But yeah, and then our safe contestants: Arizona, Bernie, Brigading, Siam, and Suki, all gonna place safe. Now the top two of Venus and Kiana are going to be lip syncing to XL by Sylvie. And Venus did a pretty damn good job of this lip sync originally. Could Kiana win this lip sync? Absolutely, but I do feel like this is a song that exists in Venus's wheelhouse just as much as it does in Kiana's. So I decided to give the win to Venus because that's what happened, and it just seems like the most likely outcome. Could Kiana win this lip sync? Maybe, but I just decided to keep it the same. And since the winner of the lip sync is the same, and there hasn't been any changes in the eliminations or anything, I see no reason why Venus wouldn't also pick to eliminate Something Wong here like she did originally. So Something Wong is going to be eliminated, and we're going to move on to episode 3. In episode 3, we had ourselves the Cacao Design Challenge, where they had to design these outfits out of these cacao leaves in different colors. I thought this was a really fun and cool challenge. I like that they all had the same material, but had to uh, make different looks out of the same material and stand out. I feel like that's a very interesting thing because with the design challenges on Drag Race, a lot of the time people are getting different materials. There's sometimes where they're using the similar or same materials. Like I think there was the oh god, I'm trying to remember. There was, I think, a design challenge in season 16. I think it was that doll design challenge. That's what it was on season 16 of Drag Race, where I think Plain and Geneva both used the exact same blue material for like the majority of their outfits. So like sometimes it does happen, but like the fact that they have the same materials just in different colors is super fucking interesting to me. And I wish more design challenges would be like that because it puts people in a level playing field and forces them to express their creativity and you know you know use their technical skills. Enough on that tangent though. The top two of this week originally were Kitty Space and Venus Deluxe, with Suki Doll placing high. I decided to keep that exactly the same. I totally agree with that judging. I feel like that's very fair. Venus's look fucking killed. Kitty's look also killed. And Suki's doll was really good, but was less of a statement piece than the top two and was a bit smaller. So like I totally get the high placement for her here. Originally Siam placed low. and Arizona and Ivory were in the bottom 2, and I also kept that the same. I kept all the judging the same this episode. I feel like this episode was judged super duper fairly. The top 2, Venus Deluxe and Kitty Space, lip-synced to Winna Winna by Pangina Heels, and Venus won originally, and I completely agree with that. I do think she definitely did better in the lip-sync. So she's going to win here again, and because she's winning the same episode again, same bottom 2, the episode was judged exactly the same. And especially since it's Arizona in the bottom with Ivory, there's no way she's getting rid of Arizona. Ivory is still going to leave here. And we are going to move on to episode 4. Now for a weird episode that I don't really know how to... I don't know how to feel about this episode. Episode 4, we have the rusical. The crazy bitch Slaysians is the rusical. And I don't know how to feel this episode because I don't know how to feel this rusical. It was just a weird setup to me. I was very confused. It was just, I don't know. I don't know how to process this rusical. But I did generally agree with the judging. And so I decided to keep it all the same. Riggeding and Arizona Brandy, they're going to stay the top 2. Venus is going to stay high. Siam low, Bernie in the bottom, and Kitty in the bottom as well. And Kiana, Suki, and Yuhua safe. That felt like the fairest thing to do, generally from me. Uh, and honestly, watching this episode, I was a little checked out of it. I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this musical. I just don't. I just didn't get it, or I just didn't really enjoy it. I know it's based off of like Crazy Rich Asians, like obviously because of the fucking pun. But I don't know how to describe it, so I won't describe it. But the top 2 of Arizona and Brigading are going to be lip syncing to Cartoon Heroes by Aqua. I did find this lip sync super funny though. I love that they did this song. It's such a weird fucking song to choose. Like, I don't know how to. Like, it's just so weird. I think that's why I think this episode is weird. It's just a lot being thrown at you. But it was fun, I gotta say. And I do think Arizona won this above Brigading. So she is going to win again here. And because Kitty Space in this timeline still would have chosen Arizona's lip sync in the previous episode, Arizona would definitely still choose Kitty's lipstick in this episode and send Kitty home, taking out somebody who did super duper well in the first 3 episodes, which is shocking but very entertaining. I like that we had it this way, where the season did really go off a track record mostly, but we did have this mid-season kind of shock. Well, not it was. I don't know. Shock, it might be the wrong word because, you know, seeing Arizona winning the lip sync, everybody is definitely, was definitely thinking, oh, well, Kitty's gone. But it is shocking to see a front runner be eliminated so early on. And, it gets to a point with season, with UK versus the World Season 1, for example. We had this shocking kind of elimination, so to say, like 3 weeks in a row where people who had been front runners were getting eliminated, boom, boom, boom. And so it kind of became like, oh, so who's here in the finale that's actually done super well, and becomes underwhelming in a way. Versus like what happened in this season, where we have Kitty Space, who goes home here. It is a bit of a shock exit. But then you get through the rest of the season where all the other eliminations, make sense. And we get a top 4, especially with Brigading and the original judging, who has one of the best track records of all time. Maybe I don't know. I don't know the exact details on that, but you know what I mean. So yeah, Kitty's gonna be eliminated here, and we're gonna move on to episode 5. In episode 5, we have ourselves the Makeover challenge, where they have to make over overseas Filipino workers in pairs. I do think a pairs makeover challenge is interesting. Like, it's something I think Drag Race US should do at least another time, especially in a regular season, because they did it in All Stars 9. They did a makeover challenge in pairs, But I think they should do it again. Like, I think it'd be gaggy if they had a makeover at, like, you know, the final 12. You know what I mean? And did it in pairs. Like, that would be interesting. But anyways, I kept the judging for this challenge exactly the same as it was originally. In the original judging, according to the Drag Race Wiki, every single team, except for the bottom two team, is higher the top two. And I decided to keep that the same because it was very clear to me, and I think to everybody, including the judges and, you know, everybody on the fucking planet, that, you know, the teams of Brigading and Suki, Yuhua and Siam, and Kiana and Venus all did phenomenal jobs in this challenge. They all did fucking wonderful in this challenge. And Arizona and Bernie did not do bad in this challenge, you know. Like if this, you know, if this was any random drag race makeover and they had presented that, there's they probably would have been like safe. They could be high, you know. I don't know if they would win, but you know, that is a absolutely serviceable makeover look for most seasons of Drag Race. Just sadly not for this season. So they are going to stay the bottom two. And Brigading and Suki Doll are going to stay the top two. So they are going to be lip syncing to Room by Stell. And this is one of those where I almost considered giving them a double win just for the fuck of it. I mean, well, technically they're all double wins because you know being in the top two counts as a win, but you know what I mean. Part of me really just wanted to count this as a double lip sync win for the fuck of it. Anyways, since the judging hasn't changed too much from the original season, and the fact that Brigading chose Bernie in the original timeline, I would assume that she would still make that decision, and Bernie is going to leave here, and we're going to move on to episode 6. Okay, in episode 6, we had ourselves the Snatch elections, which I thought was a really good take on the Snatch game, because, you know, doing improv in a language that is not your fucking own is crazy. Like being forced to do that in a language that like you were not like fully fluent in, I could not imagine. That would be a fucking nightmare. I wouldn't want to do that, so they shouldn't do that. And I'm glad that they realized that shouldn't happen, and they decided to make them do kind of an impersonation plus political challenge. I thought was interesting, and you know, it's also a way to get them to do like an acting challenge, so to say. That's like not traditional acting challenge, is doing it like this as well, where they, you know, are doing acting, but they are kind of writing the narrative for everything, which is smart. Anyways, originally there was a top 3 this week of Yuhua, Brigading, and Venus, all lip synced for the win, and I just don't agree with that. I think that Yuhua and Brigading were the top 2 for me personally. That's not to say that Venus did bad. Venus, I do think, was the 3rd, obviously, and Venus, I had such a good runway, which honestly to me made her the 3rd. I think Arizona did better in the challenge. So, you know, uh, it was kind of one of those things where, you know, where Yuhua and Brigading definitely did the 2 best in the challenge for me, and so they were the top 2. And I understand, you know, using Venus's runway as an excuse to say, oh, Venus should be in the top 2. I totally get that. If you were to do that, I would not question it. I'd be like, yeah, sure. But for me, Arizona did better than her in the challenge, so she was like 4th of the challenge. And so 4th in the challenge and best runway for me just did not cut it for being top 2 this time, you know? But anyways, all the rest of the judging is really the same. Suki and Arizona were safe originally, and Kiana and Siam were the bottom 2. And I just want to shout out Yuhua for a second. I'm so happy that she got a challenge win, because she's somebody who's been, you know, talking about being on All Stars 37 and a half for a minute, and you know, making jokes about that, and the fact that she did get to go on All Stars and won a challenge is so fucking great, and I'm very happy for her. And yeah, Anyways, Brigading and Yuhua are going to lip sync to Out of My Head by Binny. And Yuhua did win this lip sync originally, killed it, slayed it. And she will also still win it here because why wouldn't she? And nothing would change about that. And Yuhua chose to play fair with her time in the top two. And I would not assume that she would change that in the scenario. Kiana, first time in the bottom period, two top twos up to this point. In this timeline, Siam has no top twos. And it's also her first time in the bottom two, but it's like her third time in the bottom overall. So I would assume that Yuhua would still eliminate Siam in this timeline. So Siam is going to leave here, sadly. And we're going to move on to episode 7, which is different. Surprise! I do not enjoy the Drag Race Philippines Lollapalooza Lip Sync SmackDown situation that they do on this season and on season 3. I do not enjoy it. I don't like the format of it. It doesn't feel like a Drag Race challenge to me. It doesn't feel right. A Lip Sync SmackDown with, with 3 people winning, 3 people losing, and one of the top 3 having to say one of the bottom 3, and then the bottom 2 lip sync. It's just a lot of moving parts. Where if you did this challenge at a final 8, I would at least be willing to be yeah, because then that's how many people are needed for a bracket. 4 move up, 4 move down, 2 move up, 2 move down. You get a winner of the challenge, the bottom 2 lip sync for their life, and one loses. You have a proper winner bracket, loser bracket. That's how that works. That's how the show works. But it doesn't here. It's so many moving steps. And it also breaks the format of the season. Because this has been a top 2, lip sync for the win, season all the way up until this point. And then they just change it for these next 3 episodes. And I just don't like that. I don't get it. Why did they change it? I don't like that switch up. So we are not going to be doing that switch up. We are going to be keeping the top 2 lip sync for the win format the whole rest of the season. So we are also, again, since I do not like the SmackDown, we are eliminating it from the season. It's not going to happen. This does mean we need an episode to fill in that gap, because we have to keep the season the same length as part of the rules for this video. So we're going to be adding in a reunion episode. How would this reunion work? Would they all, come back together in the Philippines? Would they be, some in the same space, some over Zoom? Who the fuck knows? But I would love a reunion, recap, sort of episode, to kind of fill out that, that time. I generally like reunions, and it disappoints me because a lot of international franchises do not do the reunions. Spain does a reunion. And who else does a reunion? I know that there are others, but I'm struggling to think of them, which is really annoying. But not a lot of the international seasons do reunions, and so I would love to see a reunion for this season. And so that reunion will be episode 9 of the season. And so we are just going to be having episode 7 here, which is, instead of the SmackDown, going to be the DragCon Slaysian challenge. And then episode 8 is going to be the High Time, performance challenge. So here, episode 7 now, DragCon Slaysian, they have to create their own booths and, present them to Precious Paul Nicole and Sasha Colby. And originally in this challenge, Yuhua did not participate, so we have to anticipate how Yuhua would do. And Yuhua, I think, would do an okay job. Yuhua obviously has no problem talking to people and engaging with others. She can, she killed the acting, Snatch Elections challenge the episode before this, which is, all about, presenting yourself in a way that's, funny and entertaining. So, I don't think Yuhua would particularly struggle with this challenge, but I do struggle to see what Yuhua would do. Like, she obviously has things she could do. It's not like she's known for nothing. But, like, I don't think that she has as loud of a person as Arizona Brigading are. And, for me, this is going to sound like a deep, like, read, but I don't mean it like this. I have a harder time associating a brand identity with Yuhua than I do with Suki. Like, Suki, I can, when they're talking about their boots, I can think of things that Suki might do, could do, should do much more quickly than I can think of what things that Yuhua could do. Which, again, doesn't necessarily impact how they will eventually perform in the challenge, but it does mean that Yuhua, I think, does have a bit of a harder job. And so I decided that low was the best placement for her, because I don't think she's gonna be in the top two. I just don't sense her. Like, I do think she could get flustered by certain things, but I don't sense her getting totally flustered. So, like, I didn't think she would do better than the top three, but I just didn't think she would do worse than the bottom two. I thought she would kind of be. I think she would do a satisfactory job, and so I think that puts her at low here. That just feels like it makes sense to me. Uh, and I decided to do a low because I do think that there is a chance that there could be some tension. She messes up what she's saying, something doesn't go well, etc. And it felt like it was more balanced, made more sense to do a top three and a bottom three for this, considering that Arizona, Suki, and Brigading all did so well in this challenge. I think that they all have to have a higher, top two, and so the low made the most sense to me. I'm sorry if you disagree, but that's the way I feel. Anyways, putting in Yuhua, our judging is really still the same as it was originally. Originally, this was not a top two lip sync for the win episode. This was like a regularly formatted episode where Arizona and Suki both won the challenge and Brigading was high, and Venus and Kiana were the bottom two. And this is really just going to be exactly the same. Arizona and Suki are the top two, Brigading is high, and Venus and Kiana are the bottom two, with Yuhua placing low. Now, Venus and Kiana originally were the ones to lip sync in this episode, but they are instead going to be replaced by Arizona and Suki, who are going to lip sync to Race Car by Callista. And this was one of those where I was just like, I don't know who's going to win for this challenge. I did feel like the song was more in Arizona's wheelhouse than Suki's. It felt better for Arizona than Suki, just based off of the way that the song is. So I did decide to give the win to Arizona. But this is one of those I could see going either way. And I do think regardless of who wins, the winner does choose to eliminate Kiana. Both of these girls, with the exception of the week for Kitty, had played super fairly with the track records and everything. And so Venus has done a better job than Kiana. So sadly, I do think that they would both probably choose that as their option. So Kiana is still going to be eliminated in this episode. And we're going to move on to episode 8. So now we have Yuhua in the Girl Group Performance Challenge again. For the second time this season, a performance challenge girl group. But she was not in this episode originally, so how would she do? I would say probably bad. She was low for this challenge the first time it was done this season, so that does not give me the highest of hopes for her in terms of, her performance in this challenge. So, she essentially enters that very bottom slot and everybody moves up. There's a question of, do I move Venus or Suki out of the bottom two? I decided to move Suki out of it. Suki, there was critiques of her, not engaging with the camera as much as she should have, but, I didn't really care. That was the thing that I did not clock the first time that I watched it, and then when the judges said that, I was like, I mean, I guess, that didn't really matter to me. That didn't matter to me. And I thought Suki's performance, even though she was not serving to the camera maybe as much as she should have, I thought it was more engaging than Venus's was. And I thought she looked so fucking good in the challenge. Oh my god, I've loved how Suki looked in the challenge. So I decided for me, she did better. So she's going to move up into a safe placement. I don't think low or high makes more sense than safe. Usually in a top 2 lip sync for the win season at a final 5 episode, I do a win top 2 safe and a bottom 2. So safe feels like the most correct answer for me. But yeah, really, all the other placements stayed the same. Brigading originally won the challenge, with Arizona being high. Now they're in the top 2 for this challenge. And they're going to lip sync to Power by Morissette Amon. This is a ballad, and I think either of them could win this lip sync. A lot of these lip sync where the pairing changed in them. I had a really kind of hard time choosing who would win the lip sync, and really just kind of go off of vibes. Brigading, I think, does a pretty damn good job with ballads overall, and so I did assume that Brigading would win this lip sync. But regardless of who wins, they are both going to eliminate Yuhua. They aren't going to eliminate Venus. They're too close with Venus. Venus has done better. There's just no way. So sadly, Yuhua is going to leave here, and we're going to move on to the finale. And again, episode 9 is a reunion, but we don't need to talk about a fictional reunion. So we're going to move on to the finale. Now, originally in this finale, Brigading and Venus Deluxe were made as the top 2, with Arizona and Suki being eliminated before the lip sync for the crown, and Brigading won. And I decided to keep that pretty similarly, like pretty close. But I did decide that I wanted Suki in the top 2 instead of Venus, mostly because etc. And so, I do have more of a connection with Suki, and I definitely think it is more engaging to have the top 2 be one international queen and one Filipina queen. Uh, Based off of the finale, does Suki Doll do the worst in the finale? I say maybe. Like, I think they all do they all do at least a fine job in the finale. But looking, comparing, all the little things, I would say that Suki maybe does the worst here in the finale. But Suki does have the second best track record of the season, according to my judging. So, if we're going off of track records, Suki should be top 2. If we're going off finale, she shouldn't be top 2. I decided to put her as top 2. There was a lot of ways I was considering going with this, honestly. I considered just all 4 move on to the final lip sync. I considered really every single 2-person combination with Brigading included, of Brigading Suki top 2, Brigading Arizona top 2, Brigading Venus top 2. I considered all of those. So I had a lot of things considering, but I just decided to settle on this because I thought it was the most engaging story-wise. But Brigading is still going to win the season. She killed it from top to bottom, has a super phenomenal track record, and I think really had a good... I wish they would have highlighted her redemption arc a little bit more, of somebody who, had such high expectations coming into Drag Race Philippines Season 1, didn't meet them, and is coming back for revenge. And I think I wish they would have highlighted that more, because I do think that would have, made people sympathize with her more, or empathize, I actually think is what I mean to say. And, wanted to root for her when it got to the end, instead of what we got, which is people being like, Brigading didn't deserve to win, even though she, did the best. And, wasn't really favored. Like, my judging, I think, I was looking at this the other day because I was curious. Since I eliminated an episode where she won, which is the lip sync, so she loses that, and I changed one of her highs to a safe. And that's, all I changed for her track record. One of them was just me restructuring, so that doesn't really count. And so that means literally only one episode do I think she even got a little bit favored. And that was literally me changing a high to a safe. So, I think it's crazy what people have been saying about Brigading being favored, and her being pushed for the crown. I disagree. This is my track records for the season. The top 2s I count as 4.5 points because I don't know why. It's tradition at this point. Maybe I should count them as 5s instead. But I do think that winning the lip sync does, obviously they both win the challenge, but I do think winning the lip sync matters because, depending on the franchise, you get the money for winning the lip sync, and you get the chance to eliminate somebody, you get the badge for it. It doesn't matter. So that's why I just still choose to do the 4.5 points for the top 2 and the 5 points for the win. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed yourself. Leave your thoughts, feelings, and opinions down below. As always, I will leave my social media handles linked down below if you want to go follow me on those. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, take care. Bye-bye!